97.1 The Ticket. Tigers made two picks, I should say, in the first round of the Major League Baseball draft on Monday night. Casey Mize and Parker Meadows. Joining us now from Lakeland to talk about the draft is Tiger General Manager Al Avila here on your home for Tiger Baseball, 97.1 The Ticket. Good morning, Al. How are you?
Good morning, Jamie and Stoney. How are you guys doing today?
We're doing wonderful.
We are good. I guess the first question, obviously, is did the Rally Goose help you at all in the draft process, or was that completely separate?
Well, we actually took that to heart, and we applied the Rally Goose to the draft. Also, we didn't have a goose decoy in our room,
no.
but we had it in our hearts.
Well, let's talk about Casey Mize. I got to tell you, there was a lot of smoke screens in the last 24 hours, so I don't know who was putting out misinformation, but everywhere I read, the Tigers were going to take this guy, this guy, this guy, but when the smoke settled, it was finally the guy, Casey Mize, who has been pegged to you guys all along. What do you like so much about him?
Well, what is there not to like, really? This is one guy that is very special, and really he separated himself from the rest of the pack. If you look at his overall numbers, his strikeout to walk ratio is really off the charts. I believe he's got more wins than walks, which is incredible. And then here's a guy that comes with a repertoire of pitches, a mid-90s fastball that touches 97. He's got the cutter, the split finger changeup, the slider. He's got all his pitches are plus pitches. He throws them all for strikes. He's got a tremendous success record in a highly competitive conference. We did our biomechanics analysis on him, on his mechanics. It all checks out. We did our in-house psychological assessment with him and in-house, and that checked out in high grade. Every box you check on this guy checks out in a high manner, and for us, it was really just a kind of a no-brainer, to tell you the truth. We really love this guy.
I saw some of the analysts on MLB Network saying his cutter, I believe, or his splitter, I forget which, is the best pitch in the draft. And so, a two-part question: that, and who could you compare him to? What are his comparables that we would know?
Well, for me, I hate to compare him to any major league pitcher. There's a lot of people have said Kluber, people have said Clemens, from the past. Somebody even said Verlander. I don't compare him at all to Verlander. They were two completely type of college pitchers. Really, Verlander in college was throwing 100 miles an hour. His secondary pitches at this point in his career really weren't developed as well. I would say that, Casey is probably one of the most accomplished college pitchers that have come by in a long time. That's why, some guys try to compare him to Clemens or, guys that were accomplished college pitchers. But really, I think this is a very special guy that has a lot of different pitches that he has total command of. Will he have to make an adjustment at the professional level? Absolutely, because the adjustment from aluminum bats to wooden bats, believe it or not, there is an adjustment. Obviously, the aluminum bat, the ball is going to come off the bat a little bit faster than the wood bat. But the professional hitters are obviously more accomplished, so there's going to be an adjustment there. But knowing that he has the command of all his pitches, knowing that he has a good feel for pitching, things that we call it pitchability, meaning that he knows what to do, and he's got the ability to actually throw it where he wants to throw it.
We are talking to Tiger General Manager Al Avila here on the Troy Laser Hotline after the first day of the draft last night. Tigers taking Casey Mize, number 1 overall. Patrick Meadows, they took in the second round. We were talking earlier this morning, Al, when you look at the pitchers you have in your minor league system right now, names like Burrows, Faedo, Perez, Manning, add Mize to the mix. I know you're not putting a timeline here, and I'm not asking you to, but
you saw Baez pitch yesterday too.
Baez, yeah.
Yes.
Are you in your mind thinking, wow, the Detroit Tigers in maybe 2022, 2023 might have one of the great rotations? Is that in the back of your mind, or maybe in the front of your mind?
Well, I'm knocking on wood. The old saying, you can never have too much pitching. But yes, I had mentioned that last year that we're very excited about the crop of pitchers that we're putting together in the minor leagues. and you can foresee and plan ahead and say, yeah, that that's what your hope is, that these guys get there and they become, for the most part, a big part of your rotation. And we have some guys that will end up being in the bullpen, whether it be closer, setup guy. I mean, Joe Jimenez obviously right now is making a really big push for that future closer's role. So yeah, it's an exciting time as far as putting together some great pitching prospects for our future, and not too far away.
Do you see any problems signing Casey Mize? I know everything's slotted, but you know how that goes.
No, I think we'll definitely get him done. And when we took Parker Meadows, we took him feeling that we're going to get that done too. It'll be some negotiating, but I think at the end of the day, both guys will be Detroit Tigers pretty soon.
Let's talk about Parker Meadows, 6'4", 195-pound center fielder from high school. He's a high school outfielder from Georgia. Again, based on some of the stuff that Stoney and I have read, a power guy, a very fast guy, a guy who you can maybe picture covering all that ground in center field. Tell us a little bit about him.
Yeah, he's an exciting guy. That he's a scout's dream in that he's a big physical guy with room to grow because he's really lean, but he's got the big time power potential with the big, with big time speed. That combination obviously is coveted by everybody in baseball, and he should maintain that running speed. He's a good outfielder. He's got a really good arm. So, I mean, truly, he's you can call him a true five-tool prospect that every part of the game should play, at a very high level. So we're very excited to have him. Our guys did such a tremendous job. I was lucky enough to be able to see this guy, and when we had him on the board, we had some fears that somebody might take him in the low first round, possibly in the compensation picks, and we had him. I mean, everybody went off that board where we had it all lined up, and he was the last guy right there in that first column right where our guys felt that he's going to be, and we were lucky enough that he was there. And we were jumping for joy when we were able to get him because he's a special talent, a lot of upside, like I said, a five-tool player with a lot of potential.
What goes on in the draft room? I mean, your draft is a little different than in footballs and basketball because there's so many rounds. There's like 50 rounds, something like that. And you have 40 rounds, and you have so many scouts by areas. How do you sit there and determine, like the Midwest guy? Come on, we have to get this guy. And then your scout from Texas says, no, this guy's better. How do you mix all that together?
Well, it's a long process, and it started several weeks ago as far as putting that list together. And we do have our analytics department now that did a tremendous job. We have an in-house model that we've created that puts in rankings just by statistics, rankings by what the scouts say, and then we have a combination of stats and what the scouts categories are all together to give them an overall grade. And by that we put them in preferential order. So basically, all of our area scouts, we meet with them by region and make a preferential list by region. Then we come together and make one big list for the whole entire nation. And like I said, with the analytics department putting together all the information, including the statistics, we come up with a preferential order of basically 1 through about 300 names for the first couple of days of the draft. In saying that, we also have then ranking, by position, the best shortstops, the best catchers, the best right-handed pitchers, all in preferential order, so that later in the draft, when you're pretty much running out of names and you're looking at, okay, we need to fill a certain position, later in the draft, okay, here's a top-ranked shortstop, or here's a top-ranked, second baseman, and we can go straight to that guy, because we already have them ranked number one in of what's left over in the draft. So it is a long process. It takes several weeks to put together, but obviously it was finalized over the last weekend, and now we're just ready to go and pick the names right off the board.
Give us some sense of today. Do you have in your mind and tomorrow a breakdown of position players versus pitchers that you want to use now, or are you always looking for the best player available at that position?
Yeah, today is rounds 3 through 10, and we'll be looking for the best player available at every pick. Right now, we already have them. We have the guys lined up as we like them. Obviously, there'll be guys coming off the board. We'll make our pick, and then we'll have a list of names left over. And then what's going to happen is a lot of those names will get picked and to be taken off the board. So we go right to the next name where it's in that list, in that order. So we have it lined up, and we just wait till it's our turn to pick and pick the best name off the board.
Now, obviously, you drafted Alex years ago, but in the past, later rounds, we've seen guys with the last name the Tigers have drafted in Pemba, a Leland, a Gibson, a Rod Allen's kid. Anybody in the Tiger family has any siblings or sons, grandsons that we can expect to be picked late this year?
No, I think we've eliminated that over the last couple of years. The draft had more rounds back then, and obviously it got thin at the end. And quite frankly, some of these things, there is a means to the madness and a reason for doing things like that. But and in some cases, guys were actually had some kind of quality that we felt that it might click. So. But no, not this year. I don't believe we have any big time name like that.
Jamie's son will be available in about 7 years.
7 years, yeah. Well, I'll talk to Al about that in 7 years. Real quick, we were talking about this earlier. I'm just curious when it comes to right-handed versus left-handed pitching. Do you make it a point to make sure you get a couple of lefties, or are you, as you said before, just looking for the best arm available?
Well, that's a good question. Obviously, if there's a lefty and a righty on the board and all things are equal,
sure, yeah.
You tend to go to the left-handed pitcher. But if the right-handed pitcher is that much better than the left-handed pitcher, you got to go with the best player, with the best pitcher, the better pitcher, should I say?
Yeah.
But it all actually pans out because when we go to pick, there'll be guys that will say, "Hey, that righty is better than that lefty," or you know what, we're going to take the lefty because right here there's not much separation. So it'll be on a case-by-case, round-by-round situation.
All right, Al, we know you got to get back to it. Busy day today and tomorrow. Thanks so much for the time this morning. We truly appreciate it.